How's it going, everyone? After a week off due to, at least me, recovering from COVID, we're back to talk about Orange County Soccer Club. Not much has changed since we last spoke to you, and I'm sure there's plenty of fans and supporters are getting a little bit frustrated at this point. I'm sure some of my co-hosts are getting frustrated at this point of the season as well. We'll get into all of that. Let's get this thing started. Welcome to the Podcast of Champions. This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
Save Rapowski, and the air leaves Al Lang Stadium in one large exhale. Trouble. Arozarena's beat. Orange County opens the scoring. It's Thomas. Kuninga scores! The old guard with a new trophy.
This is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. Follow us on Twitter at OCSC_SoccerCast or on Facebook at Orange and Black Soccer Cast.
How's it going, Orange County? Welcome to another episode of the Orange and Black Soccer Cast, the first and only podcast dedicated to Orange County Soccer Club, its fans, and supporters. I'm your host, Ray Samora, and I'm here to take you through this episode as we discuss all things Orange County Soccer Club. Let's run through the list of people that are helping me out with this. First and foremost, the man from Caroline Coalition himself. We've got Mr. Dylan. Dylan, how you doing, my man?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing pretty well. Oh, man. It's nice to be here, but the quality of footy that we've been talking about this year is kind of dire, and it is funny when you do say the Podcast of Champions, because it just
doesn't feel like it anymore, right? It does not feel like it, even though technically we still are. We are still the champions at this point.
There's a star above the crest, so I don't know, Ray, and maybe everyone else except for Alan. Would you happily put up with another season of this? Because we have a star?
Well, let's find out. Let's bring Alan on here. Alan, welcome. And then I guess Dylan's already getting to asking questions at this point.
I mean, you have to be frustrated for sure. Yeah, that's an interesting question. And I think that's one that they ponder. Like, if you knew this season after the championship was going to be very frustrating, would you still take the championship? Or would you rather be like pretty good consistently but not have a championship? So would you rather be Orange County or would you rather be Phoenix over the last couple of years? And I'm not sure most fans would choose Phoenix in that situation. I think some fans would rather get one star and have some frustrating seasons but have that championship.
And who knows, it could have all changed, have not been for injuries and horrible scheduling from what the league has given us. We got one other person to introduce before we get into the actual discussion here. That's Mr. Brad up in Reno. Brad, Dylan had a question. Alan had a question here. Would we rather be Orange County or Phoenix at this point? Welcome. How are you doing? And what are your answers to these questions?
I mean, I'd rather be, I think the question was, would I rather be Phoenix consistently up until this year or Orange County up until last year, right? Or up until now. And in that case, I think I'd rather have a star next to my crest, but you still can't be happy with the performance this year.
Yeah, it's difficult, but hey, you look at it, right? And Alan's question, I think the obvious answer, Harry in San Antonio is saying easy answer, take the title, right? Is you can be Phoenix who have been consistently, battling and contending for championships, just never getting over that hump. And then look at them this season, almost as bad of a season as Orange County is having there in Phoenix. So at least with Orange County, you've got that star in your crest, and now you're having a crappy season, whereas you have a team like Phoenix who has been this close year in and year out, and now they're having a crappy season as well, at least up until this point. So it's hard to say you can't take the championship, right? I mean, I think any fan around this league is going to say, I will take a championship followed by 5 crappy years of soccer just to have that star. Now, maybe 5 is that limit where you start getting mad again. I don't know if I put too many years there, Dylan.
Just for the record, I'm fully on board with, like, I wouldn't trade that night in Tampa or that night in St. Pete for much. I think that was really special. So,
except for maybe a second title in a row.
Yeah, like, yeah, I would trade that night in St. Pete for us being really, really effing good again this year, and
potentially having a chance to win the title at home, which would have been maybe just a little bit better than winning it on the road. But I'm looking at Brad here. You can see sort of his jersey, and his face is disappearing into the green screen there. He looks like he's already ready to give up on the USL Championship season to move on to the Premier League at this point with that kit. I'm very excited about that, but we're here to talk about Orange County Soccer Club. So we have a couple matches we have to talk because we were off last week. The first match we do have to discuss briefly is the match against Monterey Bay, who I believe at the time, Orange County were sitting above Monterey Bay coming into that match. So on paper, Orange County's the favorites. And yeah, the match didn't go great for Orange County, right, Dylan?
No, it didn't. But like, to a point, are we really surprised? I know like favorites is hard to say when you don't score a lot of goals. No matter how much another team is struggling, or even if they now feature one of your former players from 3 weeks ago. This is like the Watford playing Norwich. Like, it's just kind of two bad teams playing one another, and instead of it being like an exciting affair, usually it's just like both teams are too scared to lose to do anything crazy, and also both teams are probably like devoid of confidence, and you just get like a frustrating, disappointing match instead of something high flying and crazy and like a 5-4 victory.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is Orange County sort of won the statistical battle. When you look at the run down the stats, possession, Orange County had the ball 2/3 of the time. Orange County actually made some good passes in this match, 85% pass accuracy compared to 71% for Monterey Bay, and even just shots, 10-6 Orange County in favor of that. Just unfortunately, Monterey got 2 shots on target, and both those shots go into the net. Alan, how does a team dominate statistically and still just not look good on the pitch and end up losing 2-0?
I mean, we've talked in the past about how ball possession is kind of an unfair stat, or at least I guess, inaccurate stat as far as like domination's concerned. I think both teams with 2 shots on goal. I think Orange County had their chances, but I think this is what happens, when Olaski doesn't score, right? Orange County looked like they were turning some things around, and because Olaski scores 2 against Loudoun, scores 1 against San Diego, and scores 2 against Phoenix, and those accounted for every goal but 1 in those 3 games. And so when he's not putting them in, who else on the team is really stepping up? Kubo Torres has kind of cooled off. Akoli had a decent start, but hasn't scored in forever either. So you're just kind of lacking that secondary scoring depth. And when Milan isn't putting them in, there's not a whole lot of players out there right now that are really threatening. Not to get ahead of myself, but it was nice to see Miko Kuningas out there in the next game, because I think he might be an answer to that. But there's just not a lot of pieces around the front attacking side of Orange County if Milan's not getting goals as of late.
So I'm going to go to you, Brad. Obviously, probably a thing that made this difficult for Orange County is suspensions due to red cards and injuries that this team is dealing with. I'm looking at the lineup, and there's really only one true center back in the starting roster for this team, right? And that one true center back is one that's been playing up top all season as well, all over the pitch in Albie Skendi. Does that play a part into what looks like a statistical victory for Orange County, but they just couldn't make the stops in the back when that happened, or what was your analysis of this match?
I mean, I think my analysis really comes down to Monterey Bay isn't as good of a team as we give them credit for. The 2 goals are really the only thing that Monterey did better that game, and I don't think anybody, even in that back line, Skendi, Peterson, really had a good game. I think they just, I mean, this game is really fuzzy. I haven't seen it in a while, but the collapse of we still weren't able to put any balls in the back of the net.
Yeah, that's been the biggest struggle this season, right? Is finishing some opportunities against opponents that you should. Dylan, I think you were going to jump on and say something.
Yeah, obviously I'll get to the second goal in a second, but there's just like in the LAFC game, there's these brief moments. Well, in this case, there were 34 moments where it kind of seemed like Orange County figured out the defensive side of things and actually figured out how to do a low block and keep their opponents out of the box. And then obviously once you concede, you can't sit back unless you're just okay with losing. And so you have to kind of expand and push forward. I think that's why it helps to send up your team to play on the front foot and play higher up. But I digress. So there's like almost the sense that the system's almost working, even when we've got a midfielder playing as center back and frankly a not very good center back playing because there's no one else to play. So it's kind of one of those situations. And then, I mean, the second goal is just another one of those where maybe Skendi does a little bit better, and I'm sure he's a little bit worried because a week prior he's scored an own goal in the same kind of situation. But the fact of the matter is, if you're the man at the front post, you can't let a low cross go across the box like that. It's just dumb little errors that sink us, and you have to create your own luck.
And I'm not going to say that that USL Championship is, leaps and bounds above the 5th tier of English soccer, but this shows, why Albie Skendi was playing in the 5th tier of English soccer last season. It's a jump coming up to the USL Championship, which credit to the league, the USL Championship, for being a little bit more competitive, I guess, than 5th tier English soccer. But interesting stuff. Alan, any last thoughts on this match before we move on?
I think, I've talked to Kyle Vassell this year, who made a similar jump from England, kind of in, I think, the 3rd tier. And he said the same thing. He was like, I thought I was going to run circles around USL, and that's just not the case. USL is a pretty competitive league, and it shows. Your Milan Alaskis of the world are really good players, and they're just not always 100% consistent. And I think that's what separates USL from maybe the next level up, is just consistency. But there's players that can put on just shows both defensively and offensively. So it's not a surprise, but it's also Skendi has looked a little bit like he's on roller skates at times out there, and slow ones of that. And I think some of that boils down to just some inconsistency and not having a set partner and people leaving. And I think all of those things go into those. So it's frustrating. It's not like Orange County is playing like super poorly. It's not like they don't have chances. It's not like they don't get good looks. It's just frustrating when they're just not really putting things together offensively. And some brain farts is all it takes.
And you've mentioned in the past, Alan, that that's part of like this beautiful game of soccer is just one thing can change the whole outcome of a match, as opposed to some other games like basketball or sports like basketball or something else, like where there's so much scoring back and forth that one mistake maybe doesn't determine the outcome of the final score line. Soccer, that happens. That's what happens. And just to sort of jump on top of the quality of USL Championship, where we've experienced, we know Ronaldo Damas was a great USL Championship player, and he's moved to Europe, and he's still scoring goals, right? He's scored 2 goals in 9 appearances So you can't say that USL Championship's an easy league, and proof is some of these players coming over. Again, we've experienced it. Some of these players that maybe are coming over thinking it's going to be a walk in the park, and they realize pretty early on that they actually have to put in work to succeed in this league. We've seen that. So following that, probably we could say low point of the season, the loss to Monterey Bay. I don't know, maybe you guys have different ideas on that, but when you have like the one team that you are higher on the table on and you still can't beat them this late into the season, that's a very, very low point. Orange County returned and hosted Miami FC, and although statistically still were the better team statistically in the match, winning the shots on target, possession, pass accuracy, number of passes. They did lead in fouls too, which I don't know if you consider that a victory or not. Cause I actually don't mind seeing a team with more fouls. That just means they're being more aggressive typically out on the pitch, which I appreciate aggressiveness when it comes to soccer, as long as you're not being over aggressive and getting booked when you shouldn't be. But again, it's against Miami. They couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. Luckily, they didn't allow a goal either, although Miami did have a couple chances in this match. So a 0-0 draw, they get a point. I guess that's the good news from this match. But again, it's something that I think it's getting frustrating for Orange County fans and supporters that Orange County can't find a way to get full 3 points in some of these matches. Brad, I'll go to you first on the Miami match. What are your thoughts?
We need wins. This wasn't acceptable. Just looking at this roster we had, it was probably one of the best rosters we've been able to field in a while, with Kaningas and Powers in the lineup, and both getting playing time, and yet we still couldn't score any goals in this game. And I think there were a bunch of chances that we had that we should have been better on.
Definitely. Dylan, were you at this match by any chance?
I was not. Unfortunately, I had some family commitment this week. But
I was going to say you missed an opportunity then to see a former OC player in Mark Segber's feature for Miami FC. I know he only was with us for a brief period of time on loan, but I think fans appreciated him during his short time with Orange County.
He was surprisingly kind of good. Like, I think he kind of flew under the radar as a capable player, and then I think Memphis really got the best out of him last year. But
he was that fringe. He was that fringe, like between MLS and USL type player, where I think when he came to us, it was on loan from, I want to say,
New
Revolution.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think after that season, there was still that thought that he could make it in the MLS, and maybe at this point now with Miami, he's figured out maybe his role is more USL Championship, which it would have been awesome maybe to see him a little bit longer at Orange County. Sorry, go ahead and continue on with what you wanted to say and your thoughts on the Miami match.
No worries. It's just so frustrating to have this match again and again and again and again each week, where we just, struggle to put anything on target, struggle to really do anything. We're we once again fail to defend on set pieces. And I'm not sure why we're in late July and we're still failing to defend set pieces. Thankfully, they don't score on that, and we get out with a point, because I imagine if we concede in this match, that's probably it. We might concede again, but yeah, this is another situation where our defense is pretty bad and threadbare at that. And it's not just because of injuries and suspensions. It was pretty bad beforehand, and we can't score. And it's kind of obvious that the recruitment failed, and it kind of feels like after a loss to Monterey and a 0-0 draw with Miami, we're in late July now. The season's kind of a wash. Figure out what the team's going to look like next year at this point, and maybe show a little bit of pride and fight. And I will give the players credit, because it seems like that's what they're doing. But it's just, a good season, right, is win at home, draw away. And at this point, it feels like a good result is just scoring a goal, or getting a point, which at least we did here the latter half of that.
All right, so I'm going to turn the tables here, and I'm going to ask Ray a question because Ray doesn't get questioned enough on this show. So
It's not my role. That's not my job on this show.
all right, so Colin Shuttler has taken the reins of the goalkeeping position since the last 2 matches in June. And even though Rakowski's been, I don't know if he's been healthy, but he's been on the roster over the last couple of weeks. Has Shuttler won this job, or what's the deal looking here? Have they replaced Rakowski for you, Ray?
You're funny that you asked that question, because that was a question I was going to ask after we finished talking about this match, is how Shuttler's been basically a lock in the starting lineup here for the last 6 matches or so. I think that's a surprise to many of us. I think most people, experts, fans, just casuals, would have looked and said Rakowski's the shoe-in to be the starter for the full season, unless there's an injury or whatever. Compared to last season when we had 2 number ones, Rakowski and Abraham Romero. This year you had a true number 1 and a true backup. Colin Shuttler gets the opportunity, and, his first start, he shines. He's, what player of the week, I believe, that week, or if not, at least team of the week. And I think that made it maybe a little bit more difficult to get Rakowski back in quickly. And Shuttler's done a decent job, and it could be really at this point. Who knows what the thought process is with Coach Richard Chaplow or with GM Oliver Weiss. But it could be showcasing Shuttler and getting him some minutes, so you could potentially see what you have going into next season, and potentially have a opportunity to sell a player if you need to at the end of the season. With Shuttler being in the lineup, a fixture right now at this point, it makes me lean towards the fact that maybe there's a white flag being flown for Orange County at this point, that they realize that this season didn't go the way it should have, that at this point it's difficult, sitting 10 points back of the 7th spot in the Western Conference, with, I believe, they're at 20 matches right now. I forget how many total matches there are on the season. But I believe they have 42 potential points remaining in this season if they were to win out for the remainder of the season. So even with 42 points on what their 19 is, that's really a difficult task to get to that 7th position there against Sacramento. So maybe at this point it's see what your younger backup goalkeeper has in preparation for potentially next season. Brad, you asked that question. Do you have a similar thought, different thought than what I am thinking here?
I mean, with how the team's been going this year, I think, yeah, you're looking at playing the kids here and getting something different out, because clearly, they probably want to sell Shuttler, and he's definitely done a good job. Like, let's not be wrong. He's done a good job over the past couple of weeks. He's made a couple really quality saves, this past game included, and who knows what's coming out for the future for him.
Have we heard from Alan regarding this Miami match yet, or has he just been hanging out listening to our conversation?
Hanging out listening. I think the thing to point out with this season too is, yeah, the goal scoring is kind of a issue, but Orange County is on pace with where they ended up goals scored last season, at around like 1.3 something. I think they ended 1.375 this year. They're at 1.35. The biggest difference for sure is the amount of goals they've given up. Last year, I believe they finished, let me look it up real quick, Pacific Division, 37 goals allowed in 32 games. And right now they have 33 goals, I believe, allowed, which, 33 and 20. And that, I think that's something to remind ourselves, is this wasn't like Orange County was scoring buckets of goals last season. It was that they weren't giving up goals. They had a stellar defense. They had a shutdown defense. They had one that really frustrated opponents, were really solid, built around a pretty a pretty good center back in Rob Kiernan. And I think that they're missing that one piece. But then also, I think you have to look at the midfield as well. Like the midfield last year, I thought was very successful in both defending well, but also having some moments of offensive brilliance. And this year, it just seems like nothing is going right except for Milan Olaski. And yeah, you're right. On the back end, especially against Miami, except for a couple of really nice saves, if those don't happen, Orange County's losing this game. Especially toward the end, Shetler had that really nice kind of to his right, batting the ball away from what was, for sure labeled for the top corner. And so he has looked nice. There's a few questionable goals, I think. But if you're shutting down a guy like Kyle Murphy, who scored 20 goals in USL last season, he's only got 3 this year, but he still can be dangerous. I think you build on a little bit of success. This is only Orange County's second clean sheet all season, both the 0-0 against Atlanta 2, I believe, was the other one. So build on the success of a clean sheet, because that's going to be an important thing to hang your hat on going forward, because you're going to be playing a Los Dos team that can score goals in buckets if they want to.
Now, let me just say this, right? This is about the time last season where it was looking really dire for Orange County. Everyone thought, okay, this season is sort of a wash. We're struggling. We can't get wins. I believe it was a point where Abraham Romero was taking majority of the starts in goal. And then there was a change in the coaching position. There was a change where you got Rakowski, now the official starter for the remainder of the season, and Orange County goes on a majestic run. I'm not saying those exact things will happen this season. I'm not even saying that there's going to be a coaching change at any point here soon. But again, this time last season, I think we were all very nervous that Orange County might not even get to the playoffs as well. So for those of you that are glass half full type of people, you can just look back one season and think there's still a chance. I'm not saying that's what I think is going to happen here, but there's a blueprint as to show that Orange County could be struggling in the month of July, looking very iffy, and still get into the playoffs and then make a magical run through the playoffs. Dylan was looking a little weird, and so was Brad when I was making these comments here. So I'm gonna let both of you respond. Whoever wants to go first, go for it.
Dylan does.
All right, fine. Ray, last year this time, we'd concede, we'd lose a dumb game, like we would do the Cloutier thing where we'd lose a dumb game and whatever, we couldn't really defend, and now we can't defend, but we can't score. And so at least stylistically, this time last year, it was frustrating, but they'd go out there and they'd try and dominate other teams, and we might score a couple goals or create a lot of chances. And now it's just hoofing it forward, so it's harder to watch, and it's frustrating. But hey, like you said,
so I feel like a glass half empty type of person. It sounds like.
Yes, I'm just saying the season might be a wash, but it's a good time. This is a great time for us to figure out players to sign for next season. Players we don't want to bring back. Ronaldo Damas replacement, so we can keep playing this hoofball style.
Yeah,
Brad, did you have another thought on that?
I pretty much agree with Dylan here. I don't think the season is over, but I think last year when we were talking about the change in manager, we were looking more as we knew who the replacement was clearly going to be. At this point, I don't think we have a manager replacement ready to go. And plus, you can't just ditch your title championship winning coach after 20 games in one season.
I think there's a pretty good manager, Mauricio Pochettino, that's available now. I think he got sacked by PSG. Maybe they can bring him over.
Oh my God, Ray! Sore out, everyone.
There was a post earlier in the week where someone on, I don't remember if it was USL Twitters or USL Reddit, who said, why not just sign more more Serie A players in the USL. Why don't teams do that? That's Ray Samora, folks.
So be like Tottenham, right? Bring all the Serie A players over. Let's do this. So Dylan and Brad are pretty much waving the white flag at this point. I don't know where Alan is. We didn't get anything from him on that, but maybe he'll explain where he's sitting in this. But we're going to see what happens next, as Orange County will be traveling to Carson to face Los Dos in the do we have an official title for this? Is it the 405 Derby?
They called it the 405, yeah.
That's I think that's what I heard on the broadcast, right? But they also were saying Sean Oakley, so who knows if they know what's going on there. But I believe it's behind closed doors, so it sucks for fans. You know, it sucks especially that it's a derby and then you can't really get fans there, because that's the best experience you can get probably for Los Dos ever, is when you can have a good traveling fan base there. But Orange County will need to probably, I could say confidently, get 3 points in this match if they want to have any hope of making a miraculous run to the playoffs. And right now, LA is sitting 6th in the Western Conference, so it's no easy task. I'm going to go to you first, Alan. Can Orange County start a miraculous run against Los Dos, or is it going to be more of the same that we've been seeing this season?
It's going to be tough. Los Dos is actually a pretty darn good home team. 6 wins, 1 draw, 2 losses, 21 goals scored, 14 against in 9 games, 19 points. So Los Dos is a tough team to play when they're at home. On the road is a little bit of a different story. Preston Judd has been playing crazy footy. I mean, he is for sure he's an MLS player. They just have talent all over the pitch like they normally do, right? Like, this isn't a surprise anymore with Los Dos. They have kids, they play them. Those kids have talent because Los Dos wants to bring them up to the first team. They had a tough outing against Colorado Springs, but Preston Judd didn't play. Before that, they won 3 in a row. They beat Miami 3-1. They beat Oakland 3-1. And then after the red card in San Diego, scored 5. So they have talent. They can counterattack. They can play a little bit more possession if they need to. I think they dominated possession against San Diego, although San Diego was down a guy for most of the time. So this is it's going to be a difficult game for Orange County. It's going to test their ability to defend as a team, and it's going to test their ability to not make mistakes against some pretty talented individuals. So I wouldn't get my hopes up yet. It's going to probably take a really well-drilled Orange County team to get something from Los Dos, but this weekend.
Dylan, your thoughts? Can Orange County get the start of a potential miraculous run here into the playoffs with 3 points in Carson?
Can they? Sure. I mean, can you technically be president? Yes, you are old enough. Is it likely? It's more likely than you being president, I think. But
if we went into the future, I would definitely run against President Camacho, and I probably could win that one.
Jury's out. We'll wait to see. This is a difficult one because I just mentioned that last year we would concede 3 goals in a game, but we would go for it. And I seem to remember a game against Los Dos last year that involved a certain Preston Judd, who was just also mentioned, scoring 2 or 3 goals. And I think we lost 4-3. This situation is defend. You better hope that low block works, and you better hope it works for 70 plus minutes. And we hopefully grab one late on, and they just kind of panic because historically, Orange County hasn't particularly done all that well against Los Dos. If you remember the 22 or the 2020 matches, it was score early, concede late, or do nothing, and then all the goals came late. And I mean, they were the ones that knocked us out of the playoffs, or out of playoff contention 2 years ago. It feels like they could very much be that final little thing to kill off the confidence and any sort of hint at a comeback this year.
Now, before I get to you, Brad, and your thoughts on this match, the more important question is, does Dylan know who President Camacho is? That's the important question.
If I'm thinking of this correctly, are we talking about the wonderful film Idiocracy? Or have I misremembered this? Oh, see? There we go.
Good job.
I, too, have once seen this documentary about our current political climate.
Brad, your thoughts on this upcoming match against Los Dos, and can Orange County start the miraculous run by getting 3 points in Carson?
I think very doubtful. I don't really have much analysis. You know, you don't get much analysis from Brad on a losing streak like this. But
well, we already know you're already looking ahead to the Premier League season, so you're sort of already done with.
Well, yeah, at least in the Premier League season, when my team's at the bottom of the league, there's something to fight for. So
can you imagine right now if there was Pro Rel in USL Championship and Orange County is fighting to avoid relegation into League One?
Oh, wow. Chapelo would have been gone a month ago.
And who would have been all that? And then we would have brought Pochettino in.
Okay, you know what? I regret even dignifying any of this nonsense, this Pro Rel nonsense. This is my own doing.
Anyways, so about this game, it's a game against Los Dos. It's going to be chippy. It's going to be sloppy. There's going to be plenty of discipline handed out unless some miraculous circumstance happens where we're all singing Kumbaya in the middle. It's going to be sloppy, and it's going to be a fun game to watch if you're not a fan of Orange County, because let's be honest, Los Dos doesn't have fans. So all the neutrals in the league are going to enjoy watching this game.
Alan, last thoughts on this Los Dos match before we get to maybe predicting scores here?
Park the bus.
All right. Let's do this. Let's see how confident we all are in Orange County's ability to get some points here in Carson. So we'll do our predictions right now. For those of you that are listening, feel free to share your predictions at some point with Brad so he can tally them up. I know these scores are all whack because we've been missing some predictions here and there because of shows not being on, although I know Brad's been still trying to collect guesses.
Yeah, I'll be updating that sometime this week.
Yeah, no worries. So let's go to Dylan first.
I think 2-1 Los Dos.
Alan, what's your prediction?
3-1 Los Dos.
My prediction will be 2-0 Orange County. Brad, what's yours?
I'm going to make a bold prediction and a regular prediction. Game prediction 1-1. Bold prediction. There's going to be.
Is this legal? Is this a legal thing that we could do? Is where we can make multiple predictions?
I used to do this all the time on 1868 Weekly. Bold prediction. There's going to be equal to, if not more, red cards than goals in this game.
He used to do this all the time on a show that is no longer around.
For a team.
Maybe that's why the show's no longer around. No, I'm joking. Alan's like them some fighting words. It sounds like, huh? There we go, folks. So share your predictions with Brad so we can get that all accounted for. Let's move ahead now really quick before we get to our random soccer news announcement earlier this week that President of Business Operations, I believe was the official title, Jeff Garner, moving on to do his thing with, is it with Pittsburgh, right?
Pittsburgh
Riverhounds. Yeah, we know he when he came out here, he had some ties with Penn State, I believe. Did some stuff there, then came out and did some stuff for some football league in San Diego, or a team in San Diego that was American football based, and then came up to Orange County to help out. The guy's done a good job, at least with the marketing side of things and helping get some fans into the seats and adding to the fan experience. So I think most Orange County fans in general have appreciated the ideas that he brought. I know there's some diehard soccer purists that maybe didn't enjoy some of the things that were brought to the stadium. That can range from a bunch of things like, weird sound effects on the PA system during random events in the game, mascot named Gnarly, events that were interesting at the stadium. But the whole purpose of all those was to try and just get the fan engagement going and grow the attendance, which if you look at Championship Soccer Stadium this year compared to 2-3 years back before COVID, it has grown. I mean, obviously you can see that on the telecast. You can see that when you're at the stadium, there's more fans attending these games. So props to Jeff for doing that. And we wish him the best of luck on his next mission or career opportunity here with Pittsburgh. Anyone else have anything they want to say regarding Jeff?
Maybe there's some newer fans who don't remember, like, things were kind of not dire, but a little stale. And I know that was no fault of the people that came before him, but I think Jeff really dragged this club kind of into being an event and being something for people to come to, because man, we are pretty piss poor this season, but stuff's still going on and people still come to the games because, you know what, if you've got two kids who are 6 and 8 and they can go run around and get in a fire truck and you can watch a soccer game afterwards and it's an easy night out, like, yeah, you're going to go and do that. And that builds that, because maybe in 10 to 15 years, those kids are sitting in the county line coalition or standing in the county line coalition. And that growth only really serves the team moving forward. So it's good for all the dumb sound effects at corners and throw-ins. It's an improvement from what it was. And I don't know, the club's got to build on that. Like he did a really good job with very, very little resources. And I hope it continues, because, you know, he was really good at what he did, and he was a little Sam Dorr-esque in the way that he improved things around here and really turned an Orange County match into something worth going to.
Yeah, there's a reason why a quality organization like Pittsburgh that's been around for quite some time is bringing him in. I remember meeting him at the first game he showed up at, and he seemed very enthusiastic. He seemed very interested in not only kind of bringing his own ideas because he believed in himself, but then also the desire to listen and engage people who've been around for a minute and talk about both good and bad. He was always willing to be open about things that maybe weren't working and open to consider new ideas. And also, like you said, brought some stuff in, and he wasn't afraid to try new things. And sometimes they didn't always come off, but he was always willing to try to invest in the club and his energy. And that's what you want from people in the front office. You want people who are invested in the club, invested in the community, who are there visibly, and who are willing to talk both good and bad. And so I wish him nothing but the best in Pittsburgh. Sorry, it's Pittsburgh and not Orange County. I think if I had a choice between those two cities, it would be pretty clear which one I would choose. But you know, it's well deserved. There's a reason why he's moving into that position. It's because he proved that he can bring a benefit to whatever organization he's working with.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to add on one more thing. You know, Jeff, quality guy, you know, from any conversation I've ever had with him, always just stand up, and the conversations that we've had on the podcast, outside the podcast, with the podcast, just he's going to be missed from the team, and I wish him nothing but the best in Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, and the big hope, I think Dylan mentioned, just hopefully the club continues to build from it and it doesn't regress or take a step back from what Jeff has laid the foundation for on how to get fans at the stadium. Because that's one of our topics that we've talked about since we've become a podcast, is it's difficult to convince Orange County fans to come out to a game when there's so many other activities that you can do. And yes, the price point is great for families or for young adults who don't have a lot of money to potentially spend on major events, but you still need to do something to entice them to come. So whether it's beer fests or touch a truck or concerts or these things that are happening. It's awesome to see. So hopefully the club continues to grow from that. Let's get to our random soccer stuff. I'm going to kick things off. League One expansion news this recently here with a new team in Santa Barbara. What is it? Santa Barbara Sky Football Club, who mistakenly decided to go on social media and claim they were the first professional soccer team with a woman on the crest. Got a bit of flack for that, I believe. A lot of people were pointing out, a few different options, and it sort of sucks when you go on and say professional team. It's not like you said, League One team or U.S. soccer team, although there were examples of U.S. soccer teams that have women on the crest as well. But they went just straight up professional soccer team with a woman on the crest. And I think people were pointing out, Atalanta in Serie A, who in the 70s had a woman on the crest. So
Indy 11.
Indy 11 has theirs. And then what was it? The
Reign.
NWSL team, the Reign,
Yeah,
right?
Reign.
So it's not like these are random teams that maybe no one's ever heard of. These are some, USL championship. You're a part of USL. You should know the teams within the USL ecosystem. But yeah, even a Serie A team with that, that's something that almost any soccer related person should find. So they've, I think, since then deleted that tweet. I think they realized their mistake, but it sucks that that's sort of your first hurrah moment coming onto social media, trying to boast about that. And it just, slaps you back in the face with that mistake. But it's cool to have another team in the Southern California area. Not too bad of a drive for people that are in the Orange County area, a few hours up north. And it's a nice area of the state to visit. So it'd be nice maybe in a opportunity that Orange County gets to play maybe in a League Cup against Santa Barbara, or in the future when there potentially is Pro Rel and the two teams are playing in the same league. That would be a nice away trip to make up the coast. So hopefully the city of Santa Barbara helps support this team and they can be successful there and grow soccer along the Pacific coast of California. Anyone else have any soccer stuff they want to discuss?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like their colors, though.
I could have sworn you were going to steal the words out of my mouth for the next story.
I was going to steal the words out of your mouth for the next story.
All right, go for it.
I have nothing.
Well, the very next day, a little city in Louisiana known as New Orleans also announced that they are entering the USL Championship, although they will be doing so in 2025 with a community decided crest, colors, name, everything. So hopefully they go and do things right and not come out with a monstrosity of a crest like Louisville had before they redid it.
Well, it's Warren
It's
Smith.
gonna be one of those babies that come out of the cakes, those Mardi Gras cakes, huh? That's what their logo mascot thing is gonna be.
It is Warren Smith, and he launched Sacramento and San Diego. So based on my experience, it will be very community oriented. So I have faith that if it is a small baby or the baby's in the cakes, then that's what the community actually wants. The joke is that got announced like 2 days after I got back from New Orleans. So if someone's looking to start a new USL Championship franchise, just send me to vacation. We're in your city, and you may get a USL franchise. The other thing, USLW Championship is coming up. It is Minnesota Aurora. If you haven't seen their kits, they are gorgeous versus Tormenta. It should be a pretty fun match. I am not going to Nome, Alaska. Someone said they're going to send me to Truth or Consequence, New Mexico, though. But yeah, W League Championship. It's been a heck of a season. Then USL League 2, their playoff bracket was just announced. And if you think USL League 1 is chaos, just go check out League 2.
Dylan, do you have anything?
Maybe not. No, I don't think it's soccer related.
All right, then let's get to our random thoughts. Go for it, Dylan.
Wow. All right. Well, since it wasn't soccer related, I will just go with Oh my god, I gotta remember who it was. Gents, I'm assuming we have a pretty male-oriented listener group. I hope that's okay. For assuming that.
Where the hell is this going to?
Yeah, that's a good.
Sit back, enjoy the ride.
See, I like that one. But Sebastian Haller from Borussia Dortmund recently was. Anyway, he left training sick, and it turns out that he has a tumor in his testicles. So, gents, do yourself a favor and fill yourselves up for a change in the name of health. I think it just took 90 seconds to basically say, be
Do
careful.
we, do
The
we have
odds
to
are quite high.
Alan, since you know an attorney, do we have to put a parental advisory on this episode now because of Dylan's comments?
I don't know.
I don't think so. He said nothing that was PG-13 except for the sentence as a whole.
All right. Wow.
I'm just saying,
forgot.
it would
I'm
take
sure we've all
less
forgotten our
time.
random thoughts at this point.
Yeah, it would take less time than it did for me to explain that for you to go and do it. So,
Alan, your random thought.
I got nothing after that. Like, nope.
Alan is speechless after that comment from Dylan. Brad, your turn.
All right. Well, rest in peace to a lovable little yellow lab that on Friday night was sitting behind me at 2 a.m. when I went to bed, and by 7 a.m, I hear the words, "Max is dead." That was a interesting morning. But hold your dogs close. I'm sorry, Alan just looked at me like I just wished death upon his dogs. I did not. But love your dogs. Dogs are, there's a reason why it's God spelled backward is dog. I think dogs are just the coolest animals out there, and just enjoy your time with them.
Well, sorry to hear about that, Brad. I think at least I know I have, and I think Alan has also. We've experienced that moment. Dylan, I don't know for sure. You, yes or no on that? Yep, nodding head yes. So we've all experienced that, and I'm sure many of the listeners have. It's never a enjoyable experience to go through, but yeah, the reason why it's not enjoyable is because these animals mean a lot to us, and they become a big part of our lives. So again, Brad, sorry to hear about that this weekend for you. My random thought, just I'm going to ask for tips, advice, information. The family and I were heading out east for about 10 days. We're leaving on Thursday, heading out to the Poconos, and then going to spend some time in New York City. So if you have any ideas, thoughts of what to do, where to go, what to visit, let us know. You can reach out to me on social media and just share with me your ideas and your thoughts as we are doing that. And hopefully staying cool enough, because I believe it's very hot out right now in that part of the country. And they're also having some random thunderstorms, but apparently that sort of happens. So it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. Dylan, you have something really quick before we wrap this up.
You could look at birds. I know that's a thing that people do out there in good old Pennsylvania. Ray, I have a question because I want to laugh. Can you say the name of the lake that is in the Pocono Mountains?
Is it the one that Dunder Mifflin goes and spends a day in for some team building?
It is, yes.
I know it's like a longer name, and to be honest, I'm going into the maps right now to look it up because I don't know it off the top of my head.
You know what? I'm just amazed that you even recognized that it was in The Office, and I'm so proud of you, Ray.
So it's Lake Wallenpaupack.
Yeah, okay.
Right?
There was a U sound in there that didn't need to be in there, but I'm proud of you, Ray.
Hey, you know what?
Office fan, Ray Samora, right there.
Oh, trust me, I know this. I know that it's just 20 minutes, 30 minutes outside of Scranton. So we'll be a little bit more south. We're going to be a little bit more out of like the Stroudsburg area, so a little bit closer to the tri-state area. But we'll be like right near the Delaware River. So who knows? But let's wrap this thing up. before we just get into this, because I feel like we're already like done with the show.
We
We're
already
just
hit
talking
it.
random stuff, right? What's
We
up?
hit it. We definitely reached that point.
Oh,
That
we
was
did. We did.
54 minutes ago.
So I want to thank everyone that listens to our podcast. Thank you for continuing to do so, even though we sometimes just talk about the stupidest things, but you still listen to us. Want to say thanks to all of you gentlemen, Dylan, Alan, Brad, and then also Andy, who's missing in action tonight, but want to just say thank you for everything that he does to help this podcast go. Check out our website, ocscpodcast.com, to read some stuff. We actually have some written stuff that's rather current compared to what we had for the longest time. Perfect. So for everyone, this is the Orange and Black Soccer Cast. Let me get myself ready for this. All right, Orange and Black Soccer Cast, and we are out.